right, welcome to another episode of Griff Guide Podcast. This is episode 14. 16. Holy crap. Whoops. Well, welcome back. And today I have my sister, Sophia, joining us. So Sophia is our social media manager at J. Griffin Heating and Plumbing, which she does a fantastic job at. Welcome today, Sophia. Thanks for joining me on short notice. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
So we usually don't have any sort of script to these episodes, so we just like to talk about either what we're working on, or if you want to tell outrageous stories about me when I was younger or when we were younger, you can do that too. Sophie and I are like eight years apart. So it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of came along as a big surprise, because for the longest time it was me and my older brother. And then boom, Sophia showed up one day and everybody was like, all right, now
Yep.
we have the new baby. And here she is. But yeah, no, I think Sophia has definitely played a very crucial role in managing our social media as of late, and has a lot of very good ideas that um, definitely make a bigger mark with the younger crowd. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing on social media. That's why I don't post anything. But she definitely has a lot of insight on how things work, how things go viral, all the different what do you call them? All the different
Like the
yeah,
analytics
the
and
analytics side of
yeah.
things. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I actually don't understand the analytics side of it at all. It seems like what makes a video go viral, even in our space. Like I don't really understand how that works and why. But there's math behind it, correct?
Yes. So when you're looking at the analytics, it's just basically giving you feedback about how people watched your video or looked at your post, and kind of like the user behavior behind that. So then you can use that, like we use that to figure out how we're going to get it to maybe perform better next time.
I had no idea that the analytics was even a thing, until you kind of started to tell me, like, "Hey, we need to do this because this will be viral, or we need to pick from these sounds because this is what's popular right now." And it's just crazy that there's actually a trend and a pattern. When you look at all those analytics, is it like they tell you like, "Oh yeah, people on average will watch your video for X amount of seconds," and then you have to try to figure out how to make the video perform in a certain way? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so that is one of the features that they do have is or they'll tell you what percentage of people kept watching past 3 seconds. So that must be some kind of, like milestone for
Okay.
engagement. Yeah, so they'll tell you like 60% of people were watching past 3 seconds and they'll segment it into different demographics like your followers and the people who are just seeing you for the first time and that's their first impression of you.
No kidding.
So,
That is
it's
pretty wild. And it's so funny because we have somebody who is a social media manager, and she doesn't even have a smartphone. She has a flip phone. Only person I know with a flip phone that
Does she
does.
actually?
I swear to
Yes.
God, she does not have a smartphone. She uses a flip phone. She's the only person I know she's a social media manager,
Mm.
but doesn't go on social media almost at all.
Can I ask you why that is, Sophia? Like, what was your thought process behind that? And by the way, you look young enough that it won't insult you if I ask. How old are you?
I'm 21, I'll be 22 in a couple days.
Right. So, what was your? I mean, how is that even? How is that a possibility?
Right, exactly. Confusing.
Well, I think the decision behind it was coming from a place of I was starting to use social media in a very intentional way because I had to. I had to think critically while I was scrolling through it because I was trying to absorb that information and be able to use it um, in a productive way. And with that, it just kind of like lost its appeal a little bit,
Mm.
where you're watching these videos that you start to see that maybe things that like certain influencers are posting, the facade just kind of drops a little bit when
Sure.
you're watching it with that intent. So after that, it just kind of felt like working. And I was like, wow, I really don't need that to be on me all the time when I'm, just going to a doctor's appointment. I'd rather just
That's
sit
fair.
there and zone out at this point than, have my brain be overloaded with things that, you maybe don't need all the time.
Right. That makes sense.
It is kind of wild when so you basically had the rug pulled out from under you once you figured out the analytics and how a video was supposed to work and what gets people appeal or what the appeal is towards a video. That's when you were just like, oh my God, this is a waste.
Well,
Or I feel like I'm working.
I think there's definitely a winning formula, at least right now. And so once you get a grasp on that, you know that a video is going to go like A, then B, then C, then D. And it the patterns start to come through stronger the more you notice it and the more you pay attention to it.
Hmm. No
Yeah.
kidding. That's funny. Well, I mean, that'd be like the same thing as like somebody asking me to just like put pipe together for fun, which
Yeah.
I'm not going to do unless I'm getting
No.
paid to do it. So it makes sense that you wouldn't sit there and go on social media for fun because there is no more fun to it. It's all work.
Yeah, I mean, for most things.
Okay, that makes
Mhm.
sense. That tracks. And your background before you decided to jump into social media and become wildly successful about it was what?
I don't know about wildly successful.
I would
Getting
say
there one
we're
day.
getting pretty
But,
successful.
before this, I was in school for fashion design, and that was really fun, but maybe not an industry and I really enjoyed it, but maybe not an industry I wanted to be in, 24/7. And then before that, I used to have a princess party company. I started doing that when I was 14, and then I ended up selling the business when I was like 19, 20. So that gave me a pretty good background on how running a business works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a company at 14? Jeremy, elaborate, man. Like, what is going
Yeah,
on? I have so many questions.
Yeah, I figured you had a lot of questions.
Well, this ain't my show, though.
No,
kid.
I understand that, but I was going to dive into that. So you had an actual registered business at one point. Like that business was actually registered and you had like a tax ID number and all those things. This wasn't just like, I run a business on the side and like no, it was legit like filed taxes and all that stuff and 1099s and it was like a whole legit thing for a while, correct? And you were
Yes.
doing events at you were doing different events at how many different function halls and restaurants?
Well, we were working mainly with Salvatore's. They're in Lawrence now. They had more locations, but they closed, I think. And Angelica's, another just like event venue slash restaurant, also no longer there. These things kind of died down because of COVID, and
You found a good opportune time to sell.
Yes.
Once people were not going to princess events anymore, it was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, that was our last event before COVID hit. I think it was at the end of February.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
yeah, and they way oversold the event,
Yep.
past the capacity that we had set. The venue just kept, selling tickets, and there was almost 400 people there, families, of, adults and little kids who we know are, like, super spreaders, and yeah, and that was right before that hit. So, we were getting somewhere, but I guess that wasn't the path. That
Yeah.
I have a
wasn't
quick question for you. We're 16 episodes into this podcast, so I'm assuming by now we have a largely male audience. Would you agree,
Mm.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I would say it's going to mostly be a male audience.
Can you break it down into caveman terms what exactly a princess party
Oh,
is?
Yeah,
yes.
you might want to dive into that.
Yes.
Just,
So,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
So
the
people understand.
well,
it,
a lot of these guys probably have kids that are going to watch
Yeah.
this, and I'd
Sure.
imagine they know what a princess party is if they have daughters.
Okay.
Some of them might not, though.
yes. So if you've never heard of that before, at Disney, you can go and meet the princesses. So you can go meet Cinderella. You can go meet Anna and Elsa. With a princess party, we take that character and the performer, and we bring that back to your home for, entertainment purposes. So the princess will come and sing, read a story, play some games. They'll sing happy birthday, do a little photo op.
So it's very similar
Uh,
to like hiring a. I don't want to sound
Like a
derogatory,
magician,
or like a
maybe?
magician
Yeah.
or a
Yeah,
clown or
yeah,
something.
balloon
Somebody who does
animal
balloons,
person. Yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly.
Very cool.
it's
Okay, cool.
children's
Lot-
entertainment.
That's cool.
Lot
I like
more
that.
expensive though. That's the whole thing that they don't tell you. And there's listen, I'm sorry to anybody out there that ties balloons that is watching this for children's birthdays. There is so much effort and time that goes into these princess parties. What was the average amount of time that it took you to get ready for a party?
It would be
Like start to
like
when you get to the door.
from probably around 3 hours.
So it's 3 hours of prep work just to be able to show up at this person's house.
Jeez.
Yeah. And how many people did you have working for you at the end? Like 10?
Yeah, around 10.
Yeah. 10 employees. She had 10 employees.
10 employees at 14 or 16 or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Probably. What were you? Probably 18 at the time when you were running that many employees?
Yeah, probably like 17, 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
We do have a family of entrepreneurs, real ones,
Apparently.
not fake ones, because there's a lot of people out there that do e-commerce on Amazon and claim they're an entrepreneur, and it's like, nah, man, you just got lucky that time.
Right.
We're actually out there grinding it out. There's going to be bad comments, I'm sure, in this comment section about, oh, what do you know? I love this. I can't wait to bring them on, buddy. But yeah, no, I mean, it is, you've definitely had a lot of different paths that you've gone on already. And obviously fashion is a wild disaster, come to find out, huh?
It's not ideal.
You work 1 million hours and get paid nothing is what I was told, unless you hit it big, which is almost impossible to do.
Yeah, you really, really have to love that and fashion and only fashion, because you will have very little time for anything else in your life if that's the path that you decide to pursue.
Yeah, if you take that on, your whole life, you get engulfed by that, and that's the only thing that you do, correct?
Yeah, I mean, to sustain yourself in that industry, because it's a creative industry and that's not uh compensated the best most of the time, unless you find a nice like job with a corporate company that is sometimes work from home, or you're freelance. If you really want to be like in the nitty-gritty side of it, it's
Right.
very time consuming.
Yeah, and you had plenty of teachers that were like, "Yeah, this is great, but I don't get to eat most days, and I spend 18 hours a day working on my designs." Right?
Yes.
That's pretty much the standard for
That
the
is
industry.
not an
You don't sleep, you
exaggeration.
don't get to eat, and you barely get paid unless you're in working for like a designer at the top of that chain, correct?
Yeah.
Like you got to be like the lead person on designing for a designer to actually get paid and not be killing yourself every day, right?
Pretty much.
There's only a couple spots for thousands and thousands and thousands of people that want to get into fashion.
Yeah.
So good luck to anybody out there that wants to get into the fashion industry. It kind of sucks. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Not the best.
I mean, yeah, I can see people that are making their own way, and that's fantastic. But again, they're having to take care of all elements of that, as any entrepreneur does have to. Um, so really, social media actually for them is a big, big part of their success.
It does a lot more for people like that than it does for us.
Yes.
Like really at the end of the day, for us to be on social media, we like create a presence and we have all these people that follow us and watch our videos and we get views. But at the end of the day, that doesn't ever equal any dollars for us or any jobs sold. I mean, I don't think I've had a single person call yet and said, "Oh, I found you on TikTok," or "Oh, I found you on Instagram." We haven't gotten that call, and I genuinely don't expect to get that call. I really don't feel like, I don't feel like that side of things really will drive like our industry particularly. It just doesn't seem like it.
Can I add something to that, Jeremy?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's more about once you have a client and then someone says, "Oh, I use these people, they can kind of figure out like who you are, and then it's
Right.
better for referrals and stuff. I
There's
would say.
more of a it's more or less just putting like a face and a personality
Right.
to the company, but it's like in most cases it works in reverse. Like with the people that are in fashion and people that sell stuff on, social media platforms or try to use that to run their business, it works the other way around where like you see them, you see their product, and then you're like, oh, I want to buy stuff. But with us, you see us, you see our product, but we're coming to your house. So usually it's not like
Yeah, that's fair.
we just don't get, I mean, Google is a much bigger driver for us. And so is, I mean, Facebook, I would say
Yeah.
Facebook ads is probably the most, um, I would say there's probably the most potential on Facebook as far as social medias go,
Mhm.
just because you have a lot of like local Facebook groups that are like, hey, you should give these guys a call. They came highly recommended. And then you're scrolling down and you see one of our ads on Facebook. And then it's like, all right, cool. Put a name to the face. And that, I would say, Nick, in that arena, that's where it probably tracks the most and has the most traction is on Facebook.
Interesting.
Other than that, I mean, our entire industry, and Sophia will be able to tell you this, our entire industry is literally driven by Google, like almost entirely. Google reviews, Google guaranteed. Are you putting the right keywords in? Are you putting in, it all depends on, do you have the right working formula on Google to actually make you successful and get you in front of an audience when somebody searches up plumbers in North Reading, which you could do right on the screen right now, and we would see what would come up. But it's funny because right now we're the largest plumbing company in North Reading, maybe even Reading potentially, and I don't know that we'd even be first. Yeah, see, we're not. And we're Google guaranteed, but somehow this company called Legacy with 48 reviews is up first. Now, if you scroll down on that page, right,
We're
you're not even
not
going to find us, which is pretty wild. You keep going down, eventually you will find us, and then you'll realize that we have better reviews than like 99% of the companies on there.
our Google guaranteed isn't.
Yeah, it's not set up yet.
Yes, but
We're working on that.
in the
That's the problem
regular
is all these other companies that are Google guaranteed will pop up before us. But yeah, it's kind of, again, this is all stuff that drives the industry. If you go out of that and you get off the Google guaranteed, because that's all it's going to show you right now. If you scroll down past the sponsored ads, you'll probably see us at that point once it pulls up a map.
Right
Yep.
there, first one businesses.
Yeah,
right
but
there.
look at how many reviews you have and look at our rating against everybody else. That's pretty good. To
Yeah.
hold a 5-star review is very hard to do in our industry. I mean, it's not as hard as restaurants, obviously, because a restaurant, you're never going to get a 5-star.
100%.
That's impossible. Even the best restaurants in the world don't have 5 stars. Well, maybe. I think Nobu has a 5-star. I've never been. Maybe I'll go. But yeah, I mean, in our industry, having a 5-star and retaining a 5-star rating is extremely hard. Extremely hard. So that's something that, we've obviously worked on. And yeah, just getting Google to trying to make sure that we're staying on top of all the stuff that Google does has been kind of difficult because we're just trying to keep up with the pack here. There's so many other companies out there that are doing the exact same thing as us. You have an influx of McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King all coming at you at the same time with the same exact products effectively. It's just like, what color do you want the truck to be when it rolls into your driveway is really what you're buying at that point. It's kind of crazy to think about, but that was the best way that I ever heard anybody explain that to me. I mean, is that
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're getting from just a Google search could never be equivalent to what you're getting when you're getting something like a word of mouth referral
yeah.
or, looking in a Facebook group
Yeah,
and
or like when we
somebody,
show up to a
you
town day
know,
and we talk to
yes,
somebody.
and our community events,
Yeah,
that's
the community
just
events is a big driver for us. I would say that's probably the biggest driver.
yeah, because you're gonna know nothing about any company, can say, "We have integrity, we have professionalism," but that's just a promise that,
It's an empty promise.
doesn't
It's lip
have
service is what they call
yeah.
that. If you can actually follow through on it and meet the person that's giving you the service beforehand and talk to them, I feel like that's There's a lot more to be said for that, and I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of the reason why we get so involved in the community stuff. Like this past year, we were platinum sponsor for the Chamber of Commerce in North Reading and Reading, because that's where, I don't know, 80% of our business. I wouldn't say 80%, but it's over 50% of our business is in like 3 towns around here. The community stuff is definitely the biggest driver for us. At the end of the day, there's a lot of companies out there on Google that, again, give lip service, and you're never going to know them. You have the 128s of the world, you have the Sealas of the world that are literally just a giant um, private equity firm. So I would say that what we're trying to do and the approach that we're taking is definitely different than most of the companies out there, I'd like to think. I mean, there's plenty of people that go sit at the mall, try to sell you stuff, but that's just a salesman. That's not somebody that even really cares about the business or works in it. I like to think that the people that we have working for us actually believe in what we're doing. Correct me
Yes,
if I'm
I would
wrong. I
say
don't know if that's
so.
the same, like, is that the atmosphere? Is that what we sell?
Well, I think one of our bigger selling points is, that we're a family business that is very involved in every aspect of the business, because a family business might have been started 60 years ago and now it's still called a family business, but there's
Right.
no real involvement in the day-to-day
Yeah, they
routine.
just, like, own it and take all the profits from it, and it's like, yeah, the family owns it and they get paid, but, like, they don't actually have any involvement in what goes on. There's
Yeah.
plenty of companies out there. We're still involved in it day to day, and we will be until I decide I don't wanna be anymore, and we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
That's a long way off, though.
Mhm.
So I would say, what are the challenges that you face right now as the social media manager in the business, and what are some of the highlights that you've seen already, or what are
Okay.
your big highlights so far?
Well, I would say that one of my biggest challenges is getting everybody to feel comfortable on camera and getting them to try to commit to the bit.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely a tough one.
because, they're just trying to do their jobs and to move throughout their day as efficiently as they can most of the time. And here I am, and I'm like, can you learn a dance? Can you lip sync this audio? Um,
Can you stand on this bucket for me?
yes. Yeah. Can you play the drums on a bucket? Because I'm asking them to do all of these silly, stupid things that seem like they have no impact on the business whatsoever. Um, when really what we're aiming to do is to just push our name out there, and catch maybe somebody's eye who has some connection that would be helpful for us mutually. Um, and so maybe they're not seeing that side of it and how
Yeah,
that is work too,
yeah,
just in a different way.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's been
I
a
think it is
challenge.
definitely tough to pull the guys aside and get everybody in the office has ADHD to the umpth degree. So for them to, like, pull them off the normal tasks that they're like, "Yeah, I gotta do all these things," to pull them off and be like, "Hey, I need you to go do that." They're like, "Whoa, whoa, you're throwing my whole day off," and then they get freaked out, and you also have just, like, a group of plumbers, so they're not really exactly keen on the whole idea of, like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be on this video and I have to talk about stuff," and, I mean, they do a pretty good job. We've done some really
Yes.
good videos that I'm shocked have not gone further, like the election one. That was probably my favorite video that I
Yeah.
think we've done, period. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
That got me laughing, but, um, I mean, they'll take off at some point. I feel like it's
Yeah.
just gonna take time.
I think that too is just finding the difference between what's hilarious to us and what's hilarious to the rest of the world
Yeah,
that has never met us before,
it's very different.
because yeah,
Very different.
yeah, just a different
We
type
don't
of
carry the
humor.
same humor apparently, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have, like, just a I don't know. I don't yeah, weird.
Yep.
What inspired you to get involved in the social media space? And, like, in a professional manner where you're like, "Hey, I actually think I might wanna do this for a job more so than, like, just like, oh yeah, this is what I do for fun. Like,
Well, I think I had gotten a little bit of a taste of it, back when I was doing TikTok. For reference, I was getting into TikTok during quarantine when everybody else was getting into TikTok. I ended up having a video that got like over 1 million views, and started to gain a following from that, and got really invested in putting out these super high quality videos that are very like artistic and creative. Um, but then from there, I already got a little taste of it, and to be honest, social media is like it is a little bit like gambling. Like it's addictive in
that's
that
fair.
way of when you put something out, are you gonna hit or not?
Yeah, right. It's like a roulette table every time.
Yeah.
What I think is crazy though, how many followers did you end up having on TikTok on your personal page before you were like, I'm kind of done?
Yeah, because I didn't put out that much before I kind of stopped. It was only like probably 10 videos. Um,
But you had like thousands
but
of
I
followers,
had
right?
around like 15,000 followers.
Which I mean, now this day and age, now that we're 5 years into TikTok, is not a
Yeah.
lot, but during quarantine to have 15,000 followers and to gain an interest like that quickly was, I mean, that was pretty miraculous. To even get 1 million views on TikTok at that point in time, I feel like was a big deal.
Yeah, it was
Now it's
different.
not a big deal anymore. Back then it was like, oh damn, like
Yeah,
whoa, like over 1 million was a lot of people.
things have
Yeah,
changed.
things have definitely
Yeah.
changed, but I mean, you got so big that people were offering sponsorships to you at some point, right?
There were a couple of companies that had reached out to me, and this was really after I was kind of had stepped back from it. And like I knew at that point I had been inactive for a little while, and I was just like, I am not going to get you the results that you want to get here, you know?
So instead of taking their money, you just said, you know what? Stop. Don't waste your time with me. It's fine. I'm not going to continue to pursue this.
Yeah.
See, I probably would have done the opposite. I would have been like, I'm going to keep doing this, even if it hurts.
Yeah, no, at the time I was very busy in school, so
Would you say that school potentially like sidetracked your social media like potential, like on your
um
personal page?
well, I don't think that I would have, a lot of the skills that I can share on my social media now, my personal one,
Right.
without that. So I think it definitely was very valuable. But it was just, yeah, you really had no time to
Yeah, you
create
had
any
0
valuable
time.
content.
You had 0 time when you were going to fashion school. That was the most outrageous stuff in the world. I remember because I would always ask you, I'd be like, "When when are you done with school?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I have a break for 5 days." And that'd be like every 6 months. You'd be like, "Yeah, I get 5 days off." Like literally, that's what it was for like a couple years. You were like, "Yeah, I'm on winter break. I got 6 days."
Yes. Well, the winter break, it was a regular winter break, but there would be projects that you would have to finish if you didn't finish them during winter break. And then, you wanted to start thinking about the next term before you actually started classes. It was,
Yeah, they like basically just like conditioned you to understand that the fashion industry was like a constant need of attention.
yeah, which I mean, it's what you need to do. You need to get used to it if that's what you're going to be pursuing in your life.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a lower or stakes way to kind of figure out, okay, is this kind of lifestyle suitable for me, especially, as a person with a I don't know, a disability. I have type 1 diabetes. So that was really not being
Yeah, it's not suitable for
compatible.
you because you gotta like
Yeah.
actually stop and eat and like take a minute and be like, okay, like, am I good?
Yeah.
Not
So
not
it's
good.
not the best
No.
for that type of thing. You'd have to really manage it carefully. Yeah.
See, I wish they did that in plumbing school 'cause they
Yeah.
don't. They don't,
Oh,
like,
no?
prepare you to tell you, like, "Hey, you might have to work, like, 15 hours or 18 hours," they don't tell you that.
Oh.
There's none of that. The tech schools around here do such a bad job of prepping you for real life, like, actual work, it's
Wow.
incredible.
See, I had no idea about that, but
Yeah, it's actually kinda scary, because
Mhm.
you go into a tech school and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna do, like, this and that and the other thing," but everything is such like a, controlled project that you're
Mhm.
never gonna have a situation where you're like, "Oh my god, this thing just fell," you know, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the chance for mistake and issues in a scenario is so minimal. It's not like they're running around, like, pulling stuff apart on you while you're not looking, which
Mhm.
happens in the real world, or, like, you're having, like, leaks happen more frequently, like, they don't give you the tools to understand how to critically think on the fly,
Okay.
which is something that we have to do in our industry a lot. They did not prepare us for that at all. Where it seems like in the fashion world, where the school you went to, they actually did do a pretty good job of preparing you to be like, yeah, this is going to suck. You're going to have to work a million hours and you're never going to get a break. That's great. They did not do that for us. It was like,
Wow.
we go to tech school, we work on a project, we screw around, we kind of do the projects, we kind of don't. And you know what? I understand you can only have high school kids do so much, but I feel like they need to kind of go through those kids with a fine tooth comb sometimes and be like, is this kid actually really going to be good and suitable for this industry? They don't like, it's high school again. I feel like they're just not as critical with it. And it almost seems
Mhm.
like they need to have like a trade school that operates like that, but on a higher level that's more critical, that I would say is more geared towards like a college course. Um,
Okay, that's
which
very
they
interesting.
don't,
Yeah.
I mean, they have them, but they're not like, I wouldn't say that they're really shaped around what I would find to be like an ideal curriculum, because they
Okay.
base everything off the code book, but they don't go, well, if there's this problem in a real life scenario, this is what you do. If you don't learn that out in the field, in field experience, you're not going to learn that at all in a book. They don't
Mhm.
tell you that anywhere. It's not
Yeah.
everything you're doing. If you don't know how to do it and haven't learned it from an old timer, you're on YouTube looking at it going, red wire, green wire. And then you're just sitting there like, oh crap, I don't understand how any of this works. You watch a couple YouTube videos and you try to make it happen. That's the weird part of our industry. There's not, some manufacturers have a ton of training, some don't. It's like, even though it's controlled, like professionally, it's controlled by the state. It's very much still the Wild West. I don't care what
Mm.
anybody says. And I know people are going to have shit to say in the comments, but, um, especially on like the heating and cooling side of things,
Mm.
there's no license in Massachusetts, as we just,
Mhm.
had to deal with on Google Guaranteed. There's a sheet metal license, which, okay, that gets you for sheet metal in commercial buildings. You're not pulling sheet metal permits on a residential basis. There's a refrigeration license, which only applies to commercial. That's all they have.
Mhm.
There's no like residential heating license. Like my plumbing license is good for residential and commercial. They don't really have anything that, like, as far as I know, like a sheet metal license, yeah, you can learn how to do sheet metal and you can get the license, but it doesn't really, like, you don't need the permits. When you go to pull a mechanical permit with a town, there's no like license. Like I can just put
Mhm.
whatever license I feel like putting on it that day. As long as it's a professional license, they don't
Yeah.
care. There's no checks and balances in our industry, and it's a huge problem. So
Well,
that's good to hear that at least in the fashion industry, they're like, hey, this is what it's going to be.
yes, they prepare
There's
you
none of
very
that with
much, but
us.
that's crazy.
None at
So,
all.
were you thrown when you entered into the industry full time, or did you already have an idea of how that would
Well,
be
I
like
mean,
from working with dad and
that's why I say, like, if you didn't have the experience of having a family member that was in the industry already that could take you on jobs and have you understand how it really worked, um, I feel bad for the people that don't have that experience.
Mm,
Because, yeah, getting thrown into the fire like that sucks. Terrible. Like, I've watched other kids go through it. I watched plenty of kids in my class that I graduated with from high school, got in the industry, and then immediately got out because they were like, this is horrible. No one told us that it was going to be this bad.
mhm,
And they always say, oh, yeah, plumbers can make a lot of money, this and that. And it's like, yes, true. But yeah, you're not prepared. I would say if you don't have a background in it and you don't have a family member that does it, you're not prepared. You will not be prepared, and you're going to get blindsided depending on what company you go work for and what kind of work you're doing. I mean, even for me going into the commercial side, like big commercial, was not prepared.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's really a gap in the market there with,
Oh, no, there definitely
education.
is. There's a huge education gap, and that's something that I want to, at some point, maybe talk about a business venture and trying to get some sort of like college accredited course. I talked to Brendan Recchia from Wind Supply about this. I think it was like 3-4 episodes ago.
Mhm.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, people in Massachusetts, they can go out and get a master plumber's license, but they have no idea how to run a business. And I said, Brendan, that's a good point. He's like, I'm surprised they don't do like a state run or at least state accredited course that like you have to take this to be able to get a master's, which he has a good point because it's the same thing. I mean, I guess it's the same thing when you want to run a business or open a business. You have like LegalZoom. They can set it up for you. But beyond that, you really have no idea what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
Like you, when you had your Princess Party thing, your Princess Party company, correct me if I'm wrong, but you started it and started bringing people on to help you. You had no idea what you were doing, right?
No, yeah. The way to run your business for me, a teenager at that time, was just to kind of look at successful companies all over the country and just
Copy 'em.
imitate whatever they were doing.
Yep. This
Yeah.
is literally just a giant, everything that people do now is just copy, right? If you
Yeah,
can
or I
copy
mean,
if you can copy a platform or a business that worked well and was successful, even if you can get close to it, you will be successful too.
yeah, and of course, you bring your own ideas to it, but
Yeah,
there is definitely a path to follow and a formula to try to emulate
right.
that, if you know it's successful, that's your only North Star there.
But that's why I think that like going to like a normal college is kind of a scam, and then also getting your plumbing license and getting a master's is also a scam because they're not setting you up appropriately. You're just getting thrown into it without
Mhm.
any sort of like, hey, this is how it works. Like if I had the ability to go to a school and learn all the things that I learned about running a business and social media and how to manage people and like all these different facets of the business, specifically our industry, I definitely would have went into $100,000 worth of debt to learn that.
Mm.
Period.
Mhm.
And all these kids go to college and get all these dumb degrees that have no application to anything, and they go into tons and tons of debt for it. I personally would have gone into debt if I was able to learn all the knowledge that I have now about the industry and how
Yeah.
to run a business and how to manage people. Like I said, all those different facets and those different points you hit on in our industry specifically. If you could wrap that up into a college course, you would sell it.
Yeah,
You would
and
absolutely sell it. And there's a lot of coaches out there that kind of have their own way of doing things now. Like a couple of our business coaches definitely have catered and fine-tuned to make you successful in the industry specifically. And I mean, that's cool, but it's not like an accredited course and it's not like a good, like you're not
yeah.
starting there. Like I didn't get a coach until a year ago. Whereas like we've been in this for going on 6 years now. So
And when you sign up for something like that, it can be hard to tell, I find, if you're signing up for a useless e-course or something that's actually valuable.
that is also true.
Because I think there are a lot of, plumbing business, heating business. Um,
There's a million people out there
yeah,
that claim
yeah.
that they're like you
Here's
have
my
the
online master
right, you have
class.
the Grant
Yeah.
Cardones of the world that are like, "Oh yeah, like I trust me, I fell for it too, 10x." Don't get me wrong. They're onto something there, but it's like you got to spend an outrageous amount of money to get involved in their product. Outrageous. Like you can go and take one class and you get a little
Mhm.
taste of it and you get to understand what they're kind of throwing at you, but one class is $5,000.
Oh.
One class. To become like an actual 10x member, like a
Mhm.
regular, it's $40,000. And you have to do all the work yourself. Now, if you want them to come in and do an audit and help you with the business and all that, it's $120,000 a year. That's why I said, if I could create a class that is teaching you about corporate structure, how to take your business and do this with social media and do that with, marketing and managing people and how to write people up and a hiring process and this and that. Like, we know that there's like you said, it pretty much all works the same. You just got to put your own twist on it. If there was a course that actually taught that, I really do feel like you could probably be pretty successful with it, because Grant Cardone is running around and selling people fucking $120,000 programs and like 10xing people's businesses, which works because they understand corporate structure. But it's like, that's a shitload of money to just be throwing at a company to help you with something.
Yeah, and if you're already at the point where you can afford that, then clearly a
Yeah.
little bit about what
Yeah, you're
you
probably
need to
doing
be
something
doing.
right already.
Yeah, and
But
if you're the person that needs help,
yeah, I'm talking
you're
about the
not.
little guy here. The
Yeah,
little guys where like everybody that I was at that class with, for the most part, they were like, "Oh yeah, I run a law firm. We did 15 million last year. I run an architecture firm. We did 8 million last year." And I'm sitting there and I'm like, these people already have the money. They're already like here and they just want to get here.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, so there's really nothing
there's
so
nothing for
much.
the starter.
Yeah.
Nothing real and tangible. Like you said, plenty of e-course master classes or overpriced stuff that they're throwing at you. But yeah, there's nothing that's just like, hey, if you take this course, I promise you'll actually be set up and know kind of have a good idea what you're doing.
Yeah, and have real,
Yeah. Yeah,
professionals
like a
and
buddy of mine runs he has like a coaching program that he runs, that he just started this coaching group, and I jumped in to have him coach me. But I would say that he is probably on to, as far as the HVAC industry goes, and I think he coaches other industries too. But I would say that he is probably the most equipped person that I know to be able to teach that stuff, and actually gives you legitimate advice where it's like all about communication and making sure that like you're doing things the right way and creating a good culture in a business, and like making sure you have a mission statement, like all that important shit that a lot of places don't teach you.
Mhm.
So I think he's onto something there, and I think he's going to be wildly successful with it. But yeah, the little guy's getting the rails,
Mm.
100%.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? Yeah, I guess I was just circling back to the fact that, yeah, when you're starting a business, it's definitely not the easiest thing, especially once it starts to get busy and you're like, I'm doing event like you were doing events at all these different places, and you're trying to manage 10 different people and put together legitimate productions for these. What was that like at 19? Because I definitely would have had a stroke at 19 if I was trying to do that.
Well, actually, no, I was 16 when I
Okay.
was doing those. Yeah, and I walked into the event venue, for the first one that we ever did, and I saw the lady who I had been speaking to on the phone, and through email for the past couple of months. Her name was Marcy. She was very nice. She was great. Um, and I came in my wig cap, so that almost looks like a bald cap, and my full face of makeup and, like, a sweatshirt and, just I looked a mess, but I also looked very young, and she was a little bit shocked by that, and she was like, "Oh, you're Sophia?" And, I just was like, "Oh, hi, Marcy. Yeah, it's me." Uh but yeah, putting those together, it was maybe a good thing that I wasn't going to like a normal school at the time. Um I wasn't doing like I was just taking like online school, which I think aided me a little bit in getting that to the level of success that it got to, because otherwise I wouldn't have had time for it, I
Yeah, no,
think.
regular public school definitely takes up way too much of your time,
And
right?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it would have been definitely a challenge to have been doing both of those things at the same time. But yeah, this putting together these events, there were so many different elements that went into them.
Yeah.
So there was, of course, everybody, you have to cast them in your little production. It was like dinner theater, think of like that.
But you had an interview process.
Yes, so we had to do casting, had to pray that these people weren't insane because for some reason that's an industry that just kind
Which a
of
lot of them were actually
attracts.
insane.
Yes, there were quite
A
a few
couple of
people
them.
that just yeah, would just kind of blow up out of nowhere or
They were just smoked.
yeah, just I don't know, that's just some seems to be a thing that entertainment in general, I think, can attract a certain type of crowd that is not the most reliable.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Nick, you guys are kind of, I mean, you're now speaking the same language there.
Yep. Oh, I hear you. Yeah, dealing with
Yeah.
actors and stuff, not fun. Not always fun. It can be fun, but it's not
Yeah.
always fun.
Yeah, once you find, a good crew that is you really get along well with, it's good. But yeah, trying to find all the people, get them in costumes that fit them, have all their wigs maintained and so they're looking as beautiful as the day that you first got them, creating set pieces, choreographing it, setting up the Eventbrite page, monitoring the ticket sales and the Facebook ads and the menu, and there was just so much going in there.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you had to set the menu and everything too with them.
Yes.
I forgot. See, I didn't realize how well, now that I've done a little bit of like event planning, I understand
Uh-huh.
what goes into it, but I couldn't imagine having to deal with like the choreography and like even the wigs and dresses. Like that's something that people don't understand that again aren't in like her industry. How much was a wig?
Um, if you
Like a
wanted
good
a
one?
good wig, you were looking at probably at least $400.
And how much was one of their dresses? Like the custom nice ones that you were getting?
I would say median, like 700.
Imagine that.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's insane. Like that. So that's, I mean, but I guess in the same way, like our industry is the same thing. I mean, you go to buy a Pro Press and it's $2,000. So
It's all relative.
yeah, it is all relative.
Yeah.
You got to pay to play. I didn't realize that there was that much that went on. I forgot that you had to like set the menu and be like, hey, Teresa's, by the way, or wherever you went, Angelica's. Yeah, these little kids, they don't eat steak. They need peanut butter and jelly. So
Yeah,
you got to
or
figure something out there.
like, if there was a kid with allergies,
Oh yeah, that's
that
true.
was, something that we had to be really on top of.
Yep.
Yeah, there was just a lot going in there. The sound, the music, that was one of the most challenging parts
Yeah, you had to have your own
because
sound system set up and do like a PA check and all
yeah.
that.
Yep. So, and we couldn't stand in certain places, otherwise we get horrible feedback, so we had to kind of choreograph around that.
Put tape on the floor. Do not
And
stand here.
yeah, it was, there was a lot of components going in there and really no playbook for how to make it all work. So I'm thankful that it all went down successfully as it did.
But that's good that you got that perspective and then jumping into like our whole debacle that we run every single day. At least you kind of know like I'm going to go in, this is going to be a shit show, and then I'm going to come out and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then that's what it is every single day. But I feel like that's kind of every single, if you actually run a business and you have people that work for you, I feel like that's just kind of what you get handed whenever you show up and decide to work that day.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can never really know, I guess, until you're on the other side of it, what goes into a
Yeah.
business. But, I guess every place you go, every restaurant, every,
Yeah.
hair salon, whatever you're patronizing, in that back room over there, they're freaking out and you have no idea.
Yeah, that is a good point. You don't think about that. And it's weird too, because you look at all the guys at the top that have been like some of the most successful business people in the world. And sometimes I think I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we're all doing the same thing. Like the same thing. I feel like a lot of those people have just gotten lucky and it was like right place, right time, and they knew somebody. I know that
Yeah.
that's the case with like a lot of people that I know that have gotten extremely successful. I've heard have gotten extremely successful over the years is like it was very much like a right time, right place, and they knew some people that like worked out a deal for them. It's
That
always
checks out.
backdoor shit with business.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I got $1 million loan and I was able to blow it up. Or like, oh, this guy gave me this contract, and then all of a sudden it's like I had this giant business. That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
We're never gonna get there as a company because we're not in the business of doing sketchy backdoor deals or screwing people over.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do to actually get to that level.
Mhm.
You have to screw people over, and
Yeah.
we're never gonna hit that.
Yeah, which I mean, it's you choose what you value, I guess.
Yeah.
And that, serves as a good
Moral compass.
representation of who we are to our customers, to
Yeah.
employees.
There's still people that think we rip them off all the time, but I think they don't. You have to take it with a grain of salt too, because you don't realize that when you call me on a Sunday, on a holiday weekend, that like you want it fixed right now, like this is the Sunday right now price, and you agreed to it, and then you're like, oh, I called this guy Joe, and he told me that it should have only been $1,000, and you're like, all right, cool, well, I can just take it apart, and you can call Joe and have him come back. I really hate that. The people complaining about price and belittling our industry is my number one pet peeve in what we do.
Yeah.
Number one, we go to school as long as all those motherfuckers with master's degrees, and we do just as many hours out in the field as they do in school, but for some reason we're not treated as professionals.
Yeah, which is really, the way that it is undervalued is crazy.
It is scary.
Because when clients will call, they'll call about dad a lot, right?
Yeah.
Having not taken enough time to do the work.
Yeah, they're like, oh, why did he get it done so fast? Why did I pay so much? It's like, man, we do it by the job. We don't do it by the hour.
Yeah, and you could pay for someone who takes 6 hours because they, have to look on their phone and look back and have no idea what they're doing,
right,
and try 5 million different things.
Or they're going to like take a minute. They're going to do this. They're
Yeah.
Gonna, oh, hey, Stacy, I'm going to go get breakfast. I'll be right back. I got to go grab a part. I'll be back in an hour. They go grab the part. They come back, and then they take a couple cigarette breaks. Then they go to lunch. Then they come back. You haven't had water all day at this point. Your water's been off. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, it's done. And it took an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
We just do it based off convenience. If you want it done fast, accurate, and prompt,
yeah,
that's what you sign up for with us.
Uh-huh.
Not to mention, I hate to be that guy, but people don't realize what you have to charge hourly once it gets over a certain point with like, hey, I'm not just a guy in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
A guy in a truck, $100 an hour, whatever it is now, sure. If you knew what our hourly rate was because of all the overhead that we have with all the people that work for us in our lovely office, people would throw up. They'd be appalled. They'd be like, oh my God, you have to charge how much to make $1?
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize it's like we give them a price and we say, yeah, this is going to be $500. And it's like, yeah, dude, guess what? We made $23 on that $500 that we just charged you. $23.
Yeah. And but that's what a lot of what you're paying for is the security in knowing that we are going to pretty much do everything we can to, make sure it's resolved. Where Joe in a truck, you might never see him again.
Tail light warranty.
Yeah.
You can call him back and he'll never answer the phone. It'll probably leak all over your floor, probably break down the next day. But guess what? That guy took the check, cashed it, and blocked your number immediately. And that's literally how that man rolls.
Yeah.
That's how those people operate.
Which is unfortunate.
It
but
is unfortunate, but that's not us. And if you want to chase me down and tell me I ripped you off, please explain how. You want a parts breakdown? I'll give you a parts breakdown.
Yeah.
It just burns me so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't walk into people's houses and go, oh, how much do you make a year? What do you do for work? Oh, please explain to me what you do every day that makes your job valuable. Because there's so many people out there that are like, oh, I do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that is or what purpose you serve.
Yeah.
But it just boils my blood when people say that. Like if you say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm like, all right, well earned. You went to school, you had to do a ton of shit. I understand. I can level with you on that. But when people are like, oh yeah, I have a 2-year degree and I do this and that and oh yeah, I make $500,000 a year, but I'm gonna bitch about your price.
Well, yeah, I feel like you get to a certain level and you really don't need to be so, so insanely caught up in, oh, this guy's just a little bit under you guys. So,
Oh, there's
I'm
people
going to
that
go
get
with him.
crazy with it and
But
they'll be like, oh yeah, I got 25 quotes for this job.
yeah, I'd be
You're like,
so obsessed with it when, you have that kind of wealth is just that's something that I would never be doing. But even today we ran actually me and Kyle, we went to Home Depot
mm-hmm.
to get a part. And he was he ran into somebody that he knows.
Yeah.
It's a father-son company, and he was talking
Big
about
guys.
a client of his who is I'm not going to reveal any
Names.
specific details about the client, but the client is one of the wealthiest and most successful people in the world, I think. Like, imagine like big company, big company. And
Like an Elon Musk type? Or
um
are we talking a little bit less than that?
a little bit
Elon
less
Musk of
than that.
plumbing?
Yeah.
No,
No. This is the
is a
client.
client in an industry.
It's a
Oh.
woman.
Oh, okay.
And the reason that she decided to go with them is because they were the lowest bid. What she's having done is
Outrageous, I'm sure.
yes, I would say it is nowhere near an essential
Can you explain the project without diving too deep into it?
So I will try not to
We're
give
going
away
over here, but I got to hear this.
any super secrets. But it is like a temporary greenhouse so that this person can have her produce grown locally to her, so she's not going to eat produce from the supermarket. It will be from the greenhouse, but the greenhouse is I guess it's not going to be there long term. It's only just for now, and I don't know why that is. But yes, so this is nowhere near an essential purchase, and one of the most successful people, and she still went with the lowest bid.
And I'm sure that contract was outrageous money.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, that's what I think is insane about all that. Is like these people are like, "Oh yeah, well, you know what though? Yeah, we'll never know. We'll
yeah,
never know. We're
I'm
never going to get
sure-
to that point where we have to put in a fucking temporary greenhouse for our garden.
Yes.
That's stupid.
I know. And I'm sure they'll do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know that, the reason it sounded like the reason that she went with them is just off
Lowest
the number.
bid.
Yeah.
They don't care. See, that's why I love the people that are like, you have the doctors and lawyers that we work for that literally called us because they're like, we heard you guys are the best service that we can possibly get. And I'm definitely the same way. Like if I go to a restaurant and the customer service is up here and even the meal could be like mid, but if it's up there and the customer service is up there, congratulations. I don't care if the meal is $500 every time I come in. I'm going to keep coming in. Period. Because the service is incredible and the product is great. And I just genuinely enjoy the people that are in that establishment.
Yeah.
Which is why the people that we have that are like our real patrons that like continuously come back and love us. When I see those people like on the street, I'm like, I really try to go out of my way to talk to them and be like, how are you? How's your family? Like really like on a personal relationship, not just a business relationship.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a special thing about J. Griffin.
Yeah.
Because we're all about, building those kind of connections, building community.
Professional and community. Those are like the two big pillars, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, well, there you have it, folks. Temporary greenhouses and multimillionaires, and this is how you run a business. But join us next week for episode 17. Thank you for joining me, Sophia. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.